Using the Marcus lens, analyzing the novel Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, we see how high social status equals power, and those who have it are desperate to keep it. However, those who don't have high social status are desperate to climb and gain power in order to achieve happiness. In the end, social status and power are constructs developed in society to make those who do have power feel safe and untouchable. Wuthering Heights is based in between the years of the 1770s to the 1800s, where social status is power and everyone is living their lives based off their societal rules, as those with higher status are seen to have connections with high amounts of wealth and power. Wuthering Heights tells a story of how people can rise to power and fall just as quickly. We see such connections as Catherine is more inclined to choose a high class and comfortable life with a man whom she doesn't love instead of marrying a man that is low class and poor. As we see here, quote, I've no more business to marry Edgar Linton than I have to be in heaven. And if the wicked man in there had not brought Heathcliff so low, I shouldn't have thought of it. It would degrade me to marry Heathcliff now. Quote, Catherine sees status as more important than love, as she would feel degraded by marrying someone of a much lower social status than her. Though Catherine is neither the working or dominant class, she did not fit with either man. This, as a result, puts her in a situation where she could either grow or become less than, and she chooses to raise her status. As she puts in the first sentence, her opinions of Heathcliff connect to Hindley's looking down on him, as he represents the higher class. Because of Catherine's respect of Edgar, she takes a high regard to what he thinks of the people who Catherine surrounds herself with. If Catherine is with lower status people, she herself will be brought down in society's eye. My next point is, as Heathcliff marries Isabella Linton, a woman from high status and power, he gains money and status, all of which to gain power and become a gentleman. Yet he does not love her, as he still feels deeply connected and obsessed with Catherine. This is another example of how people choose to raise in power and status instead of choosing love or self-growth. From Catherine's choice of marrying for status, he grows from a state of oppression and instead exploits Isabella for her status. As we saw here, quote, I know he couldn't love a Linton, and yet he'd be quite capable of marrying your fortune and expectations. Quote, from the quote, we see how Heathcliff parallels Catherine with their desperate marriage into power and wealth into the Lintons. This connects to how they represent the desire to become more powerful, as they both marry not for love, but instead the fact that they know that they will become more prosperous and gain more power from the wealth. This emphasizes just how important social status is for those who are desperate to climb the social pyramid and become more powerful. As Catherine lived by believing that social status is the most important aspect in choosing a husband, she rejected the poor Heathcliff, and this is what Heathcliff now believes after being rejected by Catherine due to his status and wealth. He believes in the importance of social status and now has married Isabella Linton for the wealth, furthermore connecting Heathcliff and Catherine by their desires for power. My final point is that Edgar is frustrated by Heathcliff and Isabella's marriage, as now Heathcliff is eligible to have a son and obtain all the wealth of the Lintons family. This would put him in a position where he'd be equal or possibly less than to Heathcliff, which would mean a man who has no background would have the same power as him, which connects to this quote. Her brother, who loved her tenderly, was appalled at this fantastic preference, leaving aside the degradation of an alliance with a nameless man and the possible fact that his property, in default of the heirs male, might pass into such a one's power. He had a sense to comprehend Heathcliff's disposition, to know that though his exterior was altered, his mind was unchanged and unchangeable. Edgar is scared by the idea of Heathcliff and Isabella having a son and taking all the Lintons' property and wealth. This fear is connected with the fact that if this happens, Edgar would lose his renown, social status, and wealth. This fear of becoming less than what one is what Edgar represents in the story, as he has grown and is used to being the dominant class, and the potential of someone from the working class overtaking Edgar is a taboo and frightening. If Edgar becomes equal to Heathcliff, he loses the power that he has been used to. Edgar and Heathcliff are two sides of a coin. Edgar represents the dominant class, and Heathcliff represents the working. Yet both have found themselves in a situation where one can overtake the other. Edgar, Catherine, and Heathcliff all represent the idea that if one grows and becomes a higher status or more prosperous, that they will achieve happiness. Yet neither of them achieve happiness nor become more content with what they have. We see a shift in the story, as in here, quote, "And you'll be my friend," added Catherine interrogatively. "Nay, you'll be ashamed of me every day of your life," he answered, "and the more you know me, and I can abide it." Of the Wuthering Heights estate, as their parents have gone through their lives living by societal status. They are the next generation and have seen firsthand how those who live by social status become unhappy and in their case, dead young. Instead, they decide to live without status, and instead by just treating people equally. This quote is during the end of the book, and it allows us to see how it is only those who throw away the social status constructs is that when they are truly capable to live freely and happily, as the young Catherine is now not ashamed to be friends with the servant boy, Hareton. In the end, we see how those who follow by the societal norms of living by social status are inevitable to be unhappy and never become content with themselves. And they can only achieve happiness by leaving behind the societal norms and treating other people uniformly without bias or prejudice on social status.